I'm just going to wait one more minute. Thanks for your patience. All right, so my name is Suri Deitch, and I'm Dean of the School of Professional Advancement. And I'm glad to welcome you to our informational webinar about our graduate and post-baccalaureate programs today. This is it's a great time to be thinking about going back to school, and SoPA, as we call it, is a great place to be thinking about it as well. And throughout the course of the webinar, I'm going to talk some about our programs, our faculty, our student supports. My colleague Sheila Gold is going to talk about the admissions process and things like tuition and financial aid. You should feel free to ask questions throughout. The most convenient way to do that is through the chat box at the bottom of the screen, but we'll take a minute to make sure we've answered any questions at the very end as well. And, if you're able to turn your screen on, it's always nice to see people's faces, but we also know that you may not be able to. One thing we would really appreciate is if you could put your name, where you're calling in from, and the program that you're interested in in the chat box. It's always great to get a sense of specifically what people are looking at. Even though this is a general webinar, and you're probably aware that we have program-specific webinars in each of our areas of study as well, where you can get to meet the faculty. So yeah, if you can go ahead, let us know where you're calling in from and what program you're interested in. That would be helpful. So, again, my name is Suri Deitch. I'm Dean of the school, and my colleague Sheila Gold is joining me for this webinar. And just to start, a little bit of background about Tulane and SoPA. Tulane is a private research university located in New Orleans, Louisiana. It goes all the way back to 1834 when it was founded as the Medical College of Louisiana, specifically to fight tropical diseases. And that applied focus and the focus on relevance to what's going on in the world carries through to today. Our school was actually the third school created at Tulane. So the medical school was first, then the law school. And then our school was created in order to provide a bridge for young white men who were studying for those specific fields. And so we're really proud to be part of a long history of offering applied educational programs that are relevant to the workplace and supporting a student population that is mostly working and often in many cases juggling family obligations and other things like that. Our students are really committed to their work. We find that in most cases, especially when you've been out in the world for a while, going back to school feels like a real opportunity, and our students really appreciate getting to do that. They focus, they figure out how to navigate school and anything else that they're dealing with, and we do a really good job of supporting that. So welcome, and we hope you'll seriously consider joining us. So the next slide just gives you a little bit of an overview of what we're going to go through during the webinar. And again, feel free to put questions in at any point. And if you can, thanks to those of you who let us know what you're interested in and where you're calling in from. So I will talk for a couple minutes about online education because most of our graduate and post-baccalaureate work does take place online. I'll touch on our programs and our faculty, although not in depth because that happens in our program specific webinars. Again, talk about student support and success, and then hand it off to Sheila to talk about other topics. And again, all of this is backed up by the power and the reputation of the Tulane name, and the fact that in enrolling in one of these programs and earning a master's degree or certificate from SoPA, you become a part of the Tulane community for the rest of your career. So first to online, the pandemic has made it so that every single institution in the United States has more expertise than they did in teaching remotely. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they do it thoughtfully or in a way that is, really maximizes the value of online learning. So we at SoPA have a model of developing and teaching online courses that we feel represents the best of what the modality has to offer, and has a really good mix of what's called synchronous and asynchronous meetings, so that most of your work you're doing on your own time through class assignments, reading materials, videos, sometimes simulations. But every single week you have an interactive activity as well. Typically, our courses are meeting synchronously, which means everyone is on at the same time once or twice a month in evening hours, at least according to Central Time. And so you have a lot of notice and you know when it's going to happen. And if something comes up at the last minute, the class is recorded and you can catch up with it later. The synchronous meetings are sometimes guest lectures. There's sometimes opportunities for group projects and presentations. And sometimes they're just focused on discussion of that week's materials. But it is a way of creating community. What we find is that students really appreciate the synchronous meetings. Sometimes they ask for more. So sometimes we have optional synchronous meetings that are added. Sometimes students even organize their own. At least that's been my experience in teaching in our programs. So that's how we approach online learning. In the next slide, we have a few metrics that we use to try to convey that we really know what we're talking about. So a lot of faculty who are trained in teaching online, which is a very different kind of teaching than in the classroom. A lot of students taking courses, and many, many programs that are offered entirely online. Some of which are nationally recognized as being, among the best in their fields. So that's online. The next slide gives just 4 examples of our faculty. We have a mix of full-time professors of practice in the school, and then adjunct faculty, about 35 professors of practice in different fields, almost all of whom have come from working in industry. Tyra Mitchell and Ralph Russo are good examples of our full-time faculty. Ralph is the director of our information technology and cybersecurity programs, and his background is as a serial entrepreneur in tech, but also as a police officer, and developing the New York City Police Department's first counterterrorism unit after September 11th. Tyra Mitchell is a faculty member in our kinesiology programs, teaching in health and wellness. She's the former head of physical therapy at Ochsner Medical System, which is the largest medical provider in the state of Louisiana. And then over on the left, you have Derek Bose and Ashley Hand, who, like our other 200 or so adjunct faculty work full-time in their fields and teach with us because it provides another dimension to their working lives because they enjoy it. They enjoy getting to know our students. They appreciate the opportunity to build their networks professionally and for hiring. And they bring their real world, day-to-day knowledge of what is happening in the field into their classes, as well as their professional networks. On the next slide, we have just a list of our master's degrees. So it's, again, a wide range of fields, Master of Professional Studies programs in Emergency and Security Studies, Master of Science programs in Kinesiology and Information Technology, Master of Public Administration, and a Master of Liberal Arts. All of these programs available completely online. Some of them also have on-ground classes in New Orleans at our Uptown campus that you can combine with online instruction. And the next slide is the long list of our graduate certificate programs. So every single one of these certificate programs, with one exception, is 4 courses, and they're all stackable, which means that you can take the 4 courses in the certificate and apply it toward a master's degree if you decide that that's what you want to do. Or if you enroll in the master's degree and you take all the courses in a certificate, you'll earn the degree and the certificate. And they're structured purposefully so that they're completely seamless with the master's degree programs. The admissions standards are the same for certificates and for degrees, and the transition from one to the other is completely seamless. I said there's one exception to the 4-course structure, and that is our cyber technology fundamentals course or certificate, which is 6 courses and is really intended for people who want to study at the graduate level in information technology and don't have either an academic or professional background in computer science or IT. So that's our graduate certificates. The next slide is our post-baccalaureate certificate programs. These are programs that require you to have a bachelor's degree in order to enroll. But the coursework is at the undergraduate level for various reasons, including because in some cases the studying at the master's level doesn't necessarily get you a lot in terms of what you can do in the field, and what the students in these post-baccalaureate programs are looking for really is the credential and the very specific knowledge that comes with studying in a particular area. So that's our academic programs. And again, I strongly suggest if you want, looking at one of our webinars in our program areas. Credit for prior learning is one component of how we carry out our mission of supporting working adult students. And so there are various ways in which SoPA students can earn credit toward a master's degree for life and work and volunteer experience. Sometimes that's through a specific agreement where, for example, students who have had training in the National Guard can earn up to 9 credits toward a Master of Professional Studies in one of our Emergency and Security Studies programs, or students who are members of the National League of Cities, for example, and have been through their training program can earn credit toward the Master of Public Administration. But the primary way that people earn credit toward the master's degree is through what's called portfolio assessment, which basically means that you work with our faculty to match your experience to specific learning outcomes in courses in the master's degree that you're interested in enrolling in. You document your experience in a portfolio, the portfolio gets graded by the faculty. And you can earn up to 6 credits, 2 courses toward the master's degree. So our master's degrees are between 10 and 12 courses. So it's an investment of time and a little bit of money up front, but then with a pretty significant payoff in terms of helping you make progress toward the degree. All right, and the next slide, the last one I'm going to speak to is student support and success. So every student at SoPA has an academic advisor. We have a career advisor who is well-versed in working with adult students, and in particular in helping adult students translate their experience in a particular field or in the military, for example, into new areas of study and new fields. But the way that I would describe it overall is to say that we do everything that we possibly can to be flexible and supportive of you so that you can do your best work academically. We want you to stay in your programs. We want you to stay on track toward your certificate or toward your degree. Our students are typically taking 2 courses at a time, sometimes more, once in a while less. And because we are running 3 terms a year, fall, spring, and summer, if you're really focused, you can go pretty quickly. You can earn an entire master's degree in a year and a half or 2 years. And again, what we're really about is making it so that you're able to do that. Sometimes things come up. Certainly that's true in Louisiana, where we live in a difficult climate with a lot of challenges. Certainly the pandemic has created a lot of challenges for many of our students, and we will work with you to figure out, whatever your circumstances are, again, how to keep you on track so that you don't lose momentum toward your degree or your certificate. All right, and with that, I'll hand things off to Sheila.
Thanks, Suri, and welcome everybody. We appreciate you all being here in the middle of your day. A little information, if we can go to the next slide, please, about our application process and our tuition. So a little bit about the affordability of SoPA. So we are priced in a way that we know that students, are juggling going to school. It's an investment. They also have other commitments of family and work. So we like to be very transparent about our tuition and our fees. Our upcoming term is our summer term, and the tuition rate is $1,119 per credit hour, and each of our classes is 3 credit hours. That rate does go up a little bit in the fall to $1,158 per credit hour. I like to be very clear with students that we have a very low fee assessment on top of our tuition rates. This is really important to keep in mind. I know that students end up comparing schools. Students are savvy consumers, and they tend to compare tuition. Also factor in fees. There are many schools that when you factor in fees on top of tuition, it can almost double what students pay per semester. That is not the case at SoPA, and we're very intentional about that. I will also say that many of our professors make an active effort to be very clear about what books students need to get. And if they can offer an opportunity where students don't need to get books, then they can share readings through the Canvas site or whatever to try to save students from buying materials that they don't need. They're also intentional about that as well. Even with that said, students often will apply for some sort of financial assistance to help them finance their education. For Tulane, we offer federal grants and loans. You will have to fill out the FAFSA form. That's the federal form for financial aid. That process does take several weeks to go through. So I encourage students to start that process relatively early on. When you're filling out the application for admission, also start the FAFSA process. In addition to grants and loans, we also offer multiple different 20% tuition discounts to different types of students who apply. We are a military-friendly school, so we offer a 20% tuition discount to active duty and military and veterans. We also offer that discount to first responders and safety personnel. If anyone on this webinar is a graduate of a minority-serving institution like an HBCU, we offer a 20% tuition discount. And also if anyone has been or currently is a member of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, we offer a 20% tuition discount. Also, the slide that Suri was referring to before this one, the credit for prior learning, that is a way to save tuition. It's a way to save time because those are 2 classes that you don't have to take, but it's also the tuition for paying for 2 classes as well. So those are multiple ways that we can help you save time and money. A little information about our application process. Our application is an online application. It lives on our website. So if you go to our website, sopa.tulane.edu, there's a big button at the top that says apply. Just click that button and it will open you into our application portal. You can start your application there. There is a $50 application fee for the graduate application. However, we are taking attendance at this webinar, and as a thank you to you for spending your time with us, we will automatically waive that fee. If you have already applied and paid that fee, please send me an email after this and I can refund the fee. It's a very easy thing to do, so don't be shy. Please reach out. We also will require a picture of a valid government ID. For most applicants, that's as simple as taking a picture of your driver's license with your phone and uploading the image to your application. You could also use a passport. We will need transcripts from any school from which you've received college credits. That usually ends up being the part of the application that takes the longest. So I would encourage you to request from the various schools where you have transcripts, request for them to be sent to us relatively early on in the application process. Those can be sent by mail or electronically. For several of our graduate applications, you will also have to submit a resume and answer some written portions of the application. One thing we do like to point out to our applicants is that we do not require the GRE. So that's usually welcome news to many students, but we certainly have found that a good GRE score is not necessarily a valid indicator of success in graduate programs. So do not feel like you need to take that exam. All right, some deadlines that are important for you to know is we have 3 starts per year. The current term that we are receiving applications for is our summer term. That application deadline is May 1. It's a little tight, but you would still have time to get it in if you would like to start in the summer term. The next term that will, and the application is open currently, is our fall term. The application deadline is August 1. And then if you're really planning ahead, for our spring term, which is our January term, January 1 is our application deadline. Just because we have application deadlines does not mean you need to wait until that date to submit your application. We do read applications on a rolling basis. So as soon as we have a complete application, we will review it and offer an admissions decision. We also have early enrollment scholarships that are attached to each application term. And if you register by the early enrollment dates that are listed on the screen, then you will get a $500 scholarship that's applied to your first semester of tuition. So I encourage all students to go ahead and take advantage of that. It's $500 that we're just offering students to help make their first semester a little bit easier at SoPA. So my contact information is on the screen in front of you. Feel free to email me. I know there's a phone number. I'm usually not at my desk a lot, so email is by far the easiest way to get me. So please reach out. Once again, if I need to refund an application fee or if you have any other questions. But at this point, If you would like to add some questions into the chat or take yourself off mute.
Yeah, feel free. There's one question from Laura about Tulane transcripts. We will pull Tulane transcripts on your behalf. You don't need to order them yourself. We'll go ahead and do that for you as soon as we see that you are a Tulane graduate. And we always welcome Tulane graduates, of course. Any other questions that?
Well, can I also add, sorry, that we also have a tuition discount for Tulane graduates.
Yes, good point. It is possible. Ryan had a question about the $500 toward summer tuition. I know Sheila said it is still possible to apply. And we can follow up with you directly, Ryan, just to see where you're at in the application process. So it's possible. We just need to see exactly what's in your application and what's not. But we would love for you to be able to get that for the summer. Any other questions that people have?
I am this close. I've been working on my application. I have a couple people like reviewing my statement. Just
okay.
You should. So I hope to get it in by the 25th. So once it's submitted, what is the time frame, or does somebody give you a call and kind of walk you through like, hey, you might be missing this, or?
Yeah, sorry, I can take that. So first of all, the scholarship is if you register by the 25th. So,
gotcha.
So go ahead and get it in before that, because if we can get you reviewed and registered by the 25th, that would be great. You should get, as you're filling out your application, there should be a checklist. Like it will let you know if there is a piece of the application that you're missing. So you should have a section pop up that says, please, add your written statement or your photo ID. So I would try to have as complete an application as possible before you submit it. Once we get a completed application, we review it relatively quickly, like in a matter of, days. It could be a week, it could be 9 days, but we try not to make it weeks. But we are really in that part of the application cycle where we are like closing doors, putting ourselves in the zone and reading as many applications because registration is open. So we hope to get it back to you pretty quickly. The other thing you can do, Becky, is once again, my email is right there. Feel free to email me and just say, hey, I was on the webinar. I just submitted my application. That's a good trigger to me. I'll go look at your application and I'll let you know if for some reason something's missing. We can start communicating and I can kind of walk you through all the pieces so that we can get it evaluated as quickly as possible.
I really appreciate that. I've been out of academia for a little while, so
well, we're
happy to help
you back. I always like to say our average student age is mid-30s, but we have students from like late teens into the late 70s. So a huge amount of age diversity and other kinds of diversity. And I'll just add to Sheila's point about the application process that faculty do review applications at the graduate level. And that's a part of our process, right? We want the faculty to feel like you're a good fit for the program. And at this time of year, they're doing it pretty quickly, but they're also juggling a lot of other things with, commencement coming up and students graduating and all of that. But there are a few steps, once you're offered the admissions decision, if it's an acceptance, then you have to actually accept our offer of admission and pay a deposit toward your first semester and then get set up and get your Tulane email address. And so there are a few steps. So we'll try to expedite it as much as possible, but it's not like it's not like we offer you admission and then you get to register the next day. Mike had a question about having been accepted into one program and wanting to use the same materials. We can follow up with you, Mike, to make sure that everything gets transferred over into your current application. And then we see a question from Haley. So second question first, average class size is about 12 students. So one of our hallmarks of our online programs is that we have very small classes. So we typically cap them at 15, sometimes at 20. Once in a while, we might go a little bit above that, but then we'll add another instructor. So there's a lot of really intensive interaction between students and faculty. The acceptance rates vary by program. But one thing I will say is, we publish a 3.0 GPA as one of our requirements for admission at the graduate level. But there are times when the faculty make the choice to go a little bit below that, in particular, if someone has relevant work experience in the field. As an example, sports studies, for example, has it's not uncommon to have former college athletes be in the sports studies program. If you have significant volunteer experience, it's going to help you with getting into the Master of Public Administration. So it really does vary by program. All right, and Laura, we'll also follow up with you about finishing up this summer and then starting at the graduate level in the fall. That's something that we do frequently with students who are finishing up their undergraduate programs. So that should not be a problem. And if you've already talked to the faculty, that's really great too. All right. In emergency and security studies, where the emergency management program is, most of the courses are online. We do occasionally offer courses on campus, and you can work that into your program. It depends on the scheduling. And to be honest, what we have seen the past few years is that when we offer on ground and we offer online, students do tend to prefer the online, even if they live in the greater New Orleans area. But we can talk to you more about options for taking classes on ground. And then Catherine, your general question about applying, Sheila is your person to follow up with. We're going to capture this chat. So we'll be able to do all the follow-up. And, one of the great things about technology platforms, any other questions that people have? Well, it's really exciting to have you with us. It's, I think there is a sense of excitement. We're actually about to have 2 commencements in a row. This Friday, we're having the commencement for the class of 2020, overdue for sure. And then in a month, we're having a commencement for the class of 2022. It is our favorite time of year when people get to have, one marker of what all their hard work has resulted in. And it feels really good to walk across that stage, and it feels really good to be with you on that stage in front of your loved ones. So we're really excited to have you start this process and look forward to following up. And with that, we'll go ahead and end. You will certainly be hearing from us. And yeah, just Mike's last question in there. We do not require recommendations from former faculty. You're welcome to get them if you feel like it'll help your application package, but it's not a requirement. All right. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Really nice to meet you.